this question that Anshu had raised to all of us, that is, are we, is this a right or a duty? Do we give because we want to feel good? Do we give because we have excess? Do we give because we are doing a favor to the rest of the world, or do we give because we have no choice? But that's the first question that I have for Anshu and a lot of us here. And while I ask Anshu to come in, may I thank all of you for having joined this rather important session. And please, you may feel free to use the chat window to put in your thoughts or your questions, and we'll use them so that we don't spend any time crisscrossing. So over to you, Anshu. Thank you again very much from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of Plus Trust and the CDP.
Thank you, Amir Bhai and CDPP and all of you. So one thing is that we will have to actually go back to the fundamental part of it, that ultimately who is giving, and why do we think that the people who are actually giving money are the only people who are giving something? I mean, I often ask this question in all my sessions, that if you talk about the communities with whom we work, a whole lot of us work, are they not giving? Are they not giving us a chance to do something? Are they not opening up their villages for us, their homes for us, their houses for us, their life for us? My next door neighbor, my real brother, I can't go and speak for 1 hour if I want to talk about myself or some inner thoughts or something. And while talking, I'll still hide a lot of stuff. Right? I'll not open up. And these are these millions and millions of people all across the globe, whom otherwise are unfortunately called beneficiaries, in all our very demeaning words and language, are actually the biggest possible giver, because they're giving us opportunity, they are opening up. I mean, if today I know a little bit about farming, or if I know that there are thousands of varieties of rice, and how do you really add 2 column of mango to create third variety of mango, that wisdom is actually coming from the grassroots, and they are not charging, they don't have any copyright on anything, right? I mean, what I've been saying is that thousands of say variety of rice people have innovated, and in India kind of country, we are still calling them the farmers unskilled, and people like me and you do a small research on that, create a paper, and we are called skilled. So that definition itself needs to somewhere change. And I would say, Amir Bhai, that this pandemic has actually given us a lot of chance to look into these things. Okay. Now, you are basically calling someone a beneficiary whom, say, we have given 10 kg of rice in the relief. And in all our data, that person is actually called a beneficiary. Now, this rice or pulse actually came from him or her. We just polished and packed it and then gave it back. Now, I mean, as you know, I mean, you know it much better than me as an economist, but I believe that farming is one of the only big sector in India which does not have minimum wages law. Okay.
Yes.
And me, you both can calculate that if we start paying minimum wages to the farmers of this country, me and you cannot touch rice. So who is a giver and who is the beneficiary? I think that's what somewhere we really need to relook at things. Okay. Now, why people give? That is one segment of the society where there is no why. They just give and they just keep giving. They don't wait for an event to happen. They're just constantly giving. But then if I talk about people like us, a lot of things, obviously, a lot of people want to do good. A lot of people want to feel good. It's also about trust. It's also about, so I go back to one of this entrepreneurship thing happening in my life. I obviously didn't know that I'm an entrepreneur, but then all these fellowships came in life, and they started telling you that you are an entrepreneur. And I remember in one of the fellowship, there was a huge debate about sustainability of our model. Okay, and they said that your model is not sustainable because you take money from the people, which unfortunately in this world is called donation. They never call it investment, and I'll come back to that in the time to come. And they said it's not sustainable. So we were about 13, 14 years old that time. And I said that, listen, it's your bookish knowledge which is saying that individual giving is not sustainable. But our practical work says that it is the most sustainable work because you make people a stakeholder. It's not just about giving money. And the fact remains that I would say that people give because of two very basic reasons. Uh, One, for sure, to do good, and also, I mean, rather three you can say now. One is to do good. Second also depends on the trust, on the causes, on the issues, and all what you're working with. And third also is the guilt that when I when I want to share something, when I have made enough, and I have, I want to do good, and some guilt is also there, and large number of people are also driven by guilt. Large number of people look for the trust in the society and then try to do it, and then the feel good or the doing good factor also. And that is what I was telling them, that listen, our model is very sustainable because unfortunately the guilt is growing and the trust is in our hand. Fine, if we mess up with the work, whatever we are doing, then of course we should put a lock there. Then we are not asking for people to give.
Yeah. Yeah, Anshu, one of the things that we keep hearing is about the issue on who gives. Is it the rich who give? Is it the poor who give? Where do you get your givers from?
In this society, in the world, uh, I don't want to use the poor, and I never use the word poor because people are only financially poor. People are not
Yes.
poor. Okay, so we need to
Yes.
correct that language also, Amir Bhai, for sure,
Yes.
in our narratives. Financially poor people ultimately end up giving the most.
Very true.
And the fact also remains that every single person who has been feeding me for years remained hungry. And the people who have made my houses, laid all these Airtel and Geo lines for us so that we can talk on Zoom,
Yeah.
remained ultimately homeless. Okay. And the pandemic is a proof that how the richest people who were already richest, and they're still richest, rather the wealth has
Yeah.
grown,
Yeah.
and how the uh, financially poorest people were poorest and still and further financially poorest. So so I think we know how does it operate, but in this entire chain, uh, all these people are giving the most. Then I would say the middle class of the country or the world, and middle class is not uniform. Fine, I think that is also what we make a mistake.
Yeah.
The middle class of South Delhi and middle class of East Delhi is also different. The, okay. Then
Yeah.
middle class of two cities are different. Middle class of a village and a town is different. So I would say that middle class gives gives a lot. And why I say lot, fine. The richest possible, the rich person giving 10 lakh rupees and the middle class giving 5,000 rupees or
Mhm.
10,000 rupees. You need to see the relative value. You need to see, that 10,000 rupees has much more value in the life of that person, in proportion of the earning of that person, in comparison to 10 lakh rupees of this. So I'm not talking about the volume. I am talking about the trend. I'm talking about the relativity of it. So that's where I would say, our, if I talk about my institution and many other institutions, whom we know, the biggest possible giving has come from the middle class people,
Right.
uh, and in a continuity, small portions, but there is a continuity in that. It's not like one of ad hoc thing. And also the best possible part is that a large part of giving which comes from the middle class or financially weaker section is largely a tag free money, where,
Hmm.
and that's the most
Yeah.
important part. Fine, there is
Yeah.
there is no there's no geography, there is no cause, there is no way of operation attached to that. They just trust you, they just love you, they believe in you, and they leave it there.
Hmm.
They don't dictate,
Hmm.
they don't direct.
Hmm. Yes,